Hi, I'm Andrew Pevny from Framework and Daughter Chaos, and you're watching Channa 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 podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my podcast. We have very special guest today joining all the way from New York City. We have Mr. Andrew Pevny joining the podcast. Hi, you Andrew.
Hi, good to see you, and nice to meet you finally.
Yeah, so how are you, Andrew?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. Um, just playing as much music as I can. That's really all I can do.
So how is the situation where you are with the pandemic and everything?
So I'm actually in New Jersey, not too far from New York City actually, but yeah, over here, I mean, it got pretty intense as it did in most places, but uh I mean, things seem to be cooling down a little bit now. A lot of people are getting vaccinated.
Mm.
Um, Fortunately, myself and my family and most of my close friends, we managed to avoid the virus. So, um, been pretty fortunate in that respect. Um,
Right.
but yeah.
So how did the pandemic affected you personally?
So as far as my work, I primarily my main source of income is private guitar lessons, and I was doing a lot of in-person lessons, and some of them I was even driving to the students, so doing like at their home, and then some would come to me, and then before the pandemic, only a couple were, like this Zoom lessons.
Right.
Um, but once the pandemic hit, pretty much like that Monday, I was doing, everything switched over to Zoom. Um, Unfortunately, I lost some students in the process, transitioning to Zoom, either because they were in the process of starting college, or they just couldn't, for some reason, couldn't make the transition. Um, so yeah, I took a hit in that respect. But as far as finding more work, finding more students, the saving grace has been stuff like this, doing Zoom lessons and all that. So I've definitely made out a little bit better than some people, um, which I'm very lucky for. I know some people who just like that. Their all their sources of income are just done.
Right.
Which is rough. But yeah, I mean, fortunately, everything, like I was saying, fortunately, everything has been moving in the way of online um, correspondence. So didn't hit me too hard. Could have been a lot worse.
Right. uh, it's funny how we got connected because I saw this video of you and my friend Sino Rodrigo. You were doing a Tool cover jam, right? And I
Yeah.
know Sino from because I interviewed his brother on my podcast. We are from the same country because I'm also from Sri Lanka, so that's how we got connected. It's so funny. Then I wanted to subscribe to your YouTube channel, but you had like 666 subscribers, so I didn't wanted to like ruin it.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. It's not you only get that opportunity once in a lifetime, right? To get 666 followers. But
Right.
but
So how
yeah.
did you get
No, but
connected
that's
with?
yeah.
How did you get connected with Sino?
So um let's see. How did I get connected with Zeno? Um okay, so my band Framework, our old guitar player is named Devin DeChico, who in that Tool video that you saw, he was playing bass on there.
Right.
Um, so he'd been in a band with Zeno for a few years called Cypher Seer, um, and yeah, so like he'd been jamming with them while he was doing stuff with us, and then one summer he was hanging out with um, Zeno's friend Lee, who was the drummer in Cypher Seer, um, at their studio, and he asked me to come down because they were working on a cover of I think they were doing Black Moon by Black Sabbath, which I think should be on YouTube as well. Um, and yeah, they asked me to come down and track a solo, so I met Lee, and then eventually started jamming with Lee, and we started writing some original stuff, and it became a band, which Zeno and Lee still do, called Echoes of Earth. So yeah, I met Zeno and we just started jamming, and started writing some songs together, and yeah, we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, the tool cover you guys did is pretty good, because especially Sino's vocals, I was really impressed how he did the vocals on that song, right?
Yeah, I love I don't know if you watched it all the way to the end, but you see the clip of him just belting it out, that long scream, and
Right.
then he starts like wheezing at the end of the video. I don't know how he got enough air in his lungs to pull off that scream. It was amazing.
Yeah. Uh, so Andrew, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and how do you get into music?
Yeah. So, um, I would say my earliest memory of really any type of interest in like actually playing music would be from my grandfather, who anytime we had birthday parties as a little kid, he would always bring his guitar. He came from Puerto Rico, and he started playing his music over here, and had I think a couple bands. I know one main one. Recorded a couple records, and he was a great singer. He was a great singer and great guitar player. Um, and the funny thing was, he was so good that like I would always see him playing around, but it just never occurred to me that it was something I could do, just because he was just on this other level. I was like, oh, you just have to be born with that or something.
Right.
And then when I was in middle school, my best friend Matt, I remember I went to his house one day. We were just gonna play baseball or something like that, and his parents let me in, and they told me he was downstairs, on his computer or whatever. And I saw him. He was holding the guitar, and he was looking at the computer screen. Now this maybe was in like the year 2001. So yeah, and it didn't make sense to me. I was like, wait, dude, what are you doing with the guitar when you're looking at the computer screen? Like, he's like, oh, I'm learning songs. I was like, you could just learn songs on the internet? That's crazy. I thought you had to like go to take lessons and go to school for it and everything. And he's like, nah, man. And he showed me how to read guitar tablature. Just like the just where to place your fingers on the guitar and everything like that. And ever since then, I kind of taught myself with his guidance a little bit. Taught myself how to play guitar, at least technically. Um, and then I ended up going to school for it, and that's kind of where I'm at today, I guess. That's the
Right.
short of it, at least. Yeah.
So what sort of artists or bands that really got you interested, like you really want to do, pursue music?
Um. Well, when I was first starting to play guitar, um, it never occurred to me that it would be like a career thing. I mean, I was playing just hard rock stuff um like Linkin Park, that type of
Right.
that genre, Linkin Park, like Slipknot, um, some Metallica stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to say because like as far as the idea of pursuing music, originally my plan was like when I was in high school, I was like, I'm gonna, just do whatever I want in terms of like original stuff on the side. But as far as making money doing it, I thought I wanted to be like a recording engineer.
Right.
And I found out very quickly in college that because I loved recording, but I found out very quickly that if you want to be a recording engineer, like you're in the studio like all the time. Like you're not really playing your instrument as much. And I noticed that like when I studied it in college for like just one semester, I was like, man, I don't really have time to play guitar. I'm always like doing all this stuff in the studio. And I kind of started steering more towards, man, I think I need to focus more on playing, and recording will kind of be a side thing. So
Right.
but yeah, I think does that answer your question?
Yeah. So you actually studied in Berklee College of Music, right? So how is that
Yeah.
experience studying there? How was that time?
I mean, for me, it was great. I really liked knowing, like having all these different teachers and always having new information coming at you, and of course, all the great musicians that were up there. Um,
Right.
it was humbling and intimidating at the same time. Whereas, like, I remember, where I'm from, like, I could hang with most of the guys around here, but then when I got up to Berkeley, I was like, "Jeez, these guys are on another level." But um, definitely having the guidance of the private instructors up there, like I studied with David Tronzo, who's a great slide player, um, David Fuzinski, who is in that this band, the Screaming Headless Torsos, this like funk metal band. Um,
Hmm.
I liked having the constant just flow of new ideas and new information, and it like that was perfect for me, that experience. Um, because I know sometimes like the idea of going to music school might get a bad rap, like, oh, you could just learn by just doing it, or playing on gigs or whatever. But for me, I like kind of having the structure. Like when I was in school, like before college, I was very um I was very good at like the book smart oriented stuff. Like I would do well in the classes, like
Right.
um on tests and all that stuff. So like having the structure of a college was good for someone like me, I think.
Right. So Andrew, who do you consider as your like influences with regards to playing guitar?
um I would say my main influences would be when I first started getting into like soloing and lead guitar, it would definitely be Chris Amott from Arch Enemy. Um, and then more recently, like I would say in the past like 10 years, Vinnie Moore is a huge influence.
Right.
He's from UFO, and then I think he was in some other band, Vicious Rumors,
Right.
um, very briefly. Uh, and then like rhythm guitar, I really like Vogue from Decapitated, and uh, Anders Bueller from At the Gates. So like if you had to kind of like you know figure out the ingredients of what my playing is made of, it would probably be those guys like Chris
Right.
Amott, Vinnie Moore, Anders from At the Gates, Vogue from Decapitated. I would say guys like that. Yeah.
Right. How about for the bass?
Uh, it's funny. I don't really consider myself too much of a bass player.
Right.
The I mean, if eventually you want to get into that whole story of why that that picture that you ended up using is of me holding a bass like very
Right.
prominently, we could get into that eventually if you want. But no, I don't I like when it comes to bass, especially when I'm playing that bass in like a metal band. I just
Right.
consider myself like just kind of trying to glue the drums and the guitar together. It's not really like
Right.
you know.
You know what? This last pandemic, like 2020 and early 2021, we lost a lot of guitarists, like a lot of musicians, right? So we lost Eddie Van Halen, and then I also saw your post about Alexi where because he, about losing from Children of Bodom. Uh, did you listen to Alexi? Like, was Alexi sort of an influence? Because I think he's sort of in the same area of like Chris Ammett, right?
Yeah, so like up until recently, man, I hadn't listened to a lot of Children of Bodom, but when I was younger, and when I was really starting to get into lead guitar, like Alexi was definitely on my playlist a lot with that older Children of Bodom stuff. And
Mm.
I mean, it was always amazing to me too how um he was a great vocalist, and not only like rhythm guitar, but his lead stuff was great. And it was like he was doing stuff where like you'd be listening to a record and you'd be like, man, how is, like, he's getting these weird sounds. Like, it's not just, playing fast. Like, he'll do, I think he was the first guy I heard to do like some slide tapping stuff where it almost sounds like he's playing he's like playing on a keyboard or something like that. It was wild. So whether I realize it or not, I'm pretty sure Alexi had an influence on me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty sad. Like, because Alexi had after sort of like Boredom broke up, he did this project Boredom After Midnight. They just have like one video on YouTube, which is amazing performance on that video. I really love that, the Paint the Sky with Blood. But in that video you can see that he's sort of so weak on, like, his physical appearance
Mm,
seems to be like, you can see that he's maybe sick on that video, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right. Um. So,
yeah. That's a shame.
yeah, shame. I was able to see them twice. I was able to meet Alexi when he came to the Philippines.
Nice.
So I feel so lucky that I was able to see him. Talk to him. So Andrew, after studying music, what was your like first band that you started playing?
Um, my first band. So, I mean, my very first band really amounted to nothing. It was just me and one of the guys who lives like 5 minutes from here, and we played. I don't even know if we actually wrote anything of substance, but the first band that actually started doing something was we were called we were called Exorbitance, which literally I found the name. I was like maybe 15 or 16. I found the word in the dictionary and it looked cool to me. Doesn't really mean much of anything it
Right.
just sounded kind of metal, Um, but yeah, that was kind of what kickstarted me being in bands and doing it as like as a regular thing. It started just like as a two-man project, just me and one of my friends, and then it kind of started evolving, and I would get guys from school to play with me, and then eventually they would find other guys, but it ultimately led to Framework. So Exorbitance originally, or rather, Framework was originally Exorbitance,
Right.
and then we decided with the release of our album A World Distorted, we are like, because it was a completely different lineup. So we're like, let's just start this thing fresh, change the name to something that we all like rather than something that some 16-year-old kid pulled out of a dictionary, and then um, kind of run with it from there. So I would say, yeah, that's like my first band of any substance.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I actually I was able to listen to your Framework, a couple of songs from Framework, because you have it on Spotify, especially the album The World Distorted. There's this song called The Stains of Time, which I really like from that album. Do you remember about that song?
Oh yeah, that's I think that's our most popular song, at least on Spotify. Um, yeah, that I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but yeah, that's one I'm really proud of. I mean, it's just kind of really in your face, and but also like very listenable, very singable in terms of like the melodies and all that stuff. Um, yeah, what about that song were you like drawn to?
Because I'm sort of in a I love the sort of symphonic, so sort of arch enemy type music, like, but plus I like progressive, going towards Dream Theater and all this. So I feel that it's kind of in the middle, like what you guys were doing. But when first time when I heard the name Framework, I thought it's like a gent band, like, it's sort of like intervals and framework, like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny for a while, right? Weren't there just a slew of bands coming out with like they were just like a word with S at the end, so like you said intervals or like monuments.
right.
So we don't have an S at the end, so we're not a
Yeah,
gent
it's
band.
Framework.
Yeah, just Framework. There is a band called Frameworks, I think they're like indie or like pop rock or something like that. But yeah, no S for us.
Right. But I think your last EP was in 2017, right? The where I think it's called Where We Divide. I really love
Yes.
those 5 songs there. The like the Departure. There was a song called A Passage of Something. It's like really good songs. I really enjoyed that EP.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I'm proud of that one too. I mean, um, like I was really hoping that during that songwriting process that would become a full album. But just with just stuff that was going on, it ended up only being an EP. So it kind of, I felt like it wasn't able to be fully fleshed out. But that being said, I think those 5 songs, I think they're pretty strong.
Mm. Right. So you were performing with Chris Amott on the band Armageddon, right? And then you were able to re-record the Crossing the Rubicon revisited, like you were able to revisit that album. How is that story? How did you met Chris Amott? Like because you mentioned he was sort of an influence, and now you were actually able to be in a band with him, right?
Yeah. So I met Chris uh, for the first time on it was on Skype actually. It was while I was at Berkeley. We had an assignment. It was basically to reach out to um, someone in the field in the industry that you're looking to get into. So your favorite guitar players, whatever. So I messaged all my favorite guys. I messaged Pear from Scar Symmetry. I messaged Peter Witchers from Soilwork.
Mm.
Anyone I could find on Facebook. No one answered me except Chris actually. And
Right.
I was like, hey, Chris, I would love to do an interview with you for one of my projects. That's cool. Um, so we did an interview. He was really cool, and just for the heck of it, like I sent him a follow up email, like thanks for doing the interview. I'll send you the write up whenever. Also check out my band, and then he listened to it. He said he was into it, and then I didn't hear from him for a while. I didn't really expect to, and then I had this we had this show coming up in Connecticut, and I knew his guitar player from Armageddon at the time, Joey. Um, I knew that he did some like solo music, like his solo project. He performed live in Connecticut sometimes. So I didn't have Joey's contact, so I asked Chris if I could get. I forget how it went. No, no, no. I'm sorry. I asked Joey if he'd want to play with us at this show in Connecticut, like open for us or whatever. And he thought I meant Armageddon, so he asked Chris, and then it ended up where we were opening for Armageddon at the show, and I was like, oh my
Right.
god, this is awesome. Um, so we did the show, and then we got to hang out with everyone in Armageddon, and we stayed in touch after the show. And then one night, Chris called me, and he's like, "Hey man, do you guys want to do like a van tour, like on the up and down the East Coast, Framework and Armageddon?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, dude! Let's do this." Um, so we did the tour and everything. So after a couple months, or it might have been a year or something, his bass player left the band, and then he asked me to do it. Basically because he knew me and he knew that I'd be able to play this stuff, even though I wasn't really a bass player.
Right.
Um. So yeah, that's how I ended up in uh Armageddon. So it was only for, I'd say, probably like a year or two, really, because the band became inactive after I think a year. But I was able to record the re-recording of Rubicon, um, and then we got to play a show with those tunes, which was one of the best shows I've ever played. Um, so yeah, that's how that happened. It was all because I messaged him on Facebook, and it was just like, hey man, I go to school at Berkeley. Can we do an interview? And
Right.
kind of worked out pretty well.
Right. Uh, yeah, because Arch Enemy is like one of my favorite bands, and I saw Arch Enemy with Chris I think it was 2009 because I think he left around Arch Enemy around like 2012 or 2011, I guess, right? So I saw him before that. 2009, he was here. And I've seen Arch Enemy like a couple of more times with the new lineup and all these lineup changes there. So I heard that like from Armageddon, sort of that sort of band becoming inactive, you guys come up with a new band which was the Daughter Chaos, right? So how that project started, that band started.
Yeah. Uh, so when Armageddon kind of became inactive, um, I'd say maybe the next year, I started recording just covers, me and Anthony Hamalainen, the singer, um, who was also in Night Rage.
Mm.
We just started doing some covers on YouTube, and it's kind of funny because he just called me one night and he was like, "Yo, you, me, and it was Sarah, who was the original, not original, but the previous bass player for Armageddon, um, and this guy Yanni Sofianis, who is in this band End Time Illusion and a couple other ones. He was like, "Yo, let's kind of start playing some music together." And I didn't really know the extent of it, um, but it started moving really quickly. And before I knew it, the band was called Daughter Chaos, and we were going to be uh, playing a show, and we ended up performing some Armageddon stuff as well as some original stuff. Um, and we ended up recording an EP which has two songs that Chris helped write, and
Mm.
then the other three are ones that we wrote as ourselves. So it it was kind of weird because any of the any of the articles that any of these metal websites wrote on us, like I feel like they kind of got the story wrong. And to be fair, it's kind of a confusing story because it's like,
Mm.
okay, so it's Armageddon, but without the guy from Armageddon, but they're playing Armageddon songs. It was confusing to me too, honestly. But I'm proud of at least the material that we got out of it. That's like ours to call our own. Um, it's cool that you know we got to get Krista's blessing to play some of the stuff and whatever. It kind of was like a good launching point for us. Um, but yeah, it's become its own thing.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, yeah, it's kind of a weird story, but ended up being pretty cool, you know.
Yeah, the song that you have a title like on the EP, you have a title track, "The Daughter Chaos," and then I also love the track "The Space Born," which is also one of the popular songs, right? And I mean, I really feel that you have something there that's really ignites like especially the fans of Archman Enemy and Armageddon. Like it's you guys are really there. So I think I'm really looking forward if you would proceed and put more music out. Like I would really love to see you guys.
Awesome, yeah, thank you. The Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what really influences that stuff for me, at least, is because like um I grew up on like Arch Enemy. Like for me, the metal band for me is Arch Enemy, especially that early stuff.
Mm.
Pretty much all the stuff that Chris is on and earlier. So like Daughter Chaos for me is kind of an outlet, like for me to kind of pay tribute to those roots, that sound, that just like in your face, no nonsense, kind of melodic death metal thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, hopefully that kind of after all everything settles down, we can start playing some shows.
Right. So what's the current lineup of Dota Chaos?
So right now, Daughter Chaos is myself, Yanni Sofianis, and Sarah Claudius.
So Sarah is doing the vocals now, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, Andrew, what's happening with framework? Sorry, framework, not frameworks, right? Framework.
Yeah, yeah. So framework right now is we're writing our follow-up album. So like in 2019, we had some pretty significant lineup changes with our drummer and then our guitar player. So now we have Joseph Lamanna on drums, who's phenomenal, and then a new guitar player, Anthony Gonzalez. So um, for most of like 2019, we were just getting comfortable with this lineup, just playing as many shows as we could because we'd kind of been out of it for a while, just you know, life happening with the bandmates and just not being able to commit, all the stuff that comes with being in a band. But so we finally kind of got a lineup with guys that have all similar headspaces. So we're like, let's play some shows. Let's get the momentum going again. And then once 2020 started, we started writing our next album. So we've got 9 complete songs written, and I don't even know how many incomplete ones, maybe like 20 or something like that. So we're definitely we're putting out a single within the next couple months, and then going to start recording the album probably soon after that. And then yeah, same thing with framework. Hopefully, when all this dies down, we can start playing some shows and getting our stuff out there.
Right. uh, because the live shows are not happening. Like, I really enjoy that on your YouTube channel you put out a lot of these jams that you do, like quarantine jams with different artists, like the one with Seno. And then the one that I recently saw was the one you did a cover of Ginger, I Speak Astronomy. I really love Ginger, especially Tatiana, because she's so hot, like that.
Oh my
And
god, she's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I have this. I took a selfie when I went to Ginger show, and I think it's like my best selfie all time with her. So uh,
That's great. Yeah, yeah.
it's a good outlook, sort of a way to put out these jams, right? Quarantine jams. Like, this would not happen if there was no pandemic, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. The that so like the Ginger tune was that was a little while in the making actually. It's kind of funny. That one was actually going to be released that way regardless of the pandemic because I
right,
played a show with the singer Heidi and her band Averst. We played up in Massachusetts because her and I went to school together, and
right.
up at Berkeley, and yeah, we'd been talking about just kind of like doing a cover, and yeah, pretty much once the pandemic hit, we were like, all right, let's knock this out, let's finish this once and for all. Like no better time than now, you know. Um, but that being said, the quarantine jam, like with the one with like a bunch of guitar players from around the area, yeah, that was from born from the pandemic, so that was kind of cool to do. Um, the one you saw was Did you see the Stevie Wonder one? That was the most recent one we did.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so
yeah, yeah.
great.
That was fun.
um so you mentioned that, like, you had this sort of earlier inspiration to become a record engineer, or sort of on the production side of things. Were you able to do that actually during the career? Like, were able to work with other artists or other people, or do the recording stuff?
Um, no, not really. Not in the sense that like I thought I was going to be when I was younger. I've definitely done a bunch of like one-off like mixing projects like for clients either online or people I know. Um, as most of the time I'm working on, uh, I have some hand in the project in one way or another. So for example, the Daughter Chaos EP, I mixed that myself. Um, the framework albums were all recorded aside from drums. Everything was recorded pretty much right here.
Right.
Um, the framework stuff I didn't mix though. But all the stuff was recorded here. So yeah, I'm still doing it, but in the capacity that I want to. Like I just found that I don't want to be sitting in a, in the studio for 20 hours at a time. I want to be playing music, and it's especially taxing cuz like I used to record other bands in high school and everything when I was, kind of really thinking I wanted to do this. And man, some of the bands, they just, for lack of a better word, they just sucked, and it just like drained me. It was just like, man, I don't want to. I'd rather be playing guitar right now. I don't want to be recording this guy, who can't play to a metronome. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of the capacity as that I do, like, any type of engineering with.
Right. Right. With Andrew, with the students that you have on your like guitar lessons, do you get surprised with the younger talent that is there a lot of good talent coming up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, I had so my I was when I first started teaching on my own. I had maybe, a couple students here and there, but it wasn't until I started teaching at a Guitar Center store, um, that I started getting a larger influx of students. And that's, because the store gets you students and all that stuff. But yeah, I had a lot of kids coming in that I was like, damn, these kids are better than I was when I started.
Right.
Um, I have these two. I haven't taught them in a while, but I had these two brothers, um, who are just like a shred guitar duo. There's a cover of them, that we did of them playing. I think it was "Scarified" by Paul Gilbert, and they're just ripping it up. And and then both of them are doing really cool things. I think one of them has like a super popular video on TikTok. Like it might even be like 1 million views or something like that.
Wow.
Um, yeah, of him playing guitar. I forget what exactly he was playing on that one. Um, and then the other brother, he wrote his own album, and it's really good. It's like for his first effort, like it was better than anything I came up with at his age. Um, yeah. So and I was like, when I listened to it, I was like, man, I taught you this? I don't think I taught you this. Like, how did you how did you learn how to play this? This is great. Um, but yeah, there's definitely some talent coming up. It's it's tricky though, because like working at Guitar Center, I did see a lot of kids that had talent, but on the other hand, I also saw kids that like did not want to be there. Like their parents
Right.
just kind of wanted something for them to do after school, and all they wanted to do was just like, just get back to whatever they were doing on their phone or whatever. So I think if if the kid has any sense of discipline, um and they kind of, can sit down and work at something like the guitar, like with all the technology available to them, like there's no reason not to be great.
Right. I think one of the problems probably these days is the attention span because you're always distracted because of the phones and all this TikTok and all that stuff that people are like kids are distracted. Because even my son, he's 11 years old. He also just started playing guitar, and I'm so happy when he's able to play a song. I'm like go 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 because it's so happy to see because I, I wasn't able to do that when I was 11 years old.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, because I mean, like, especially if he's like genuinely interested in it, because that's what's gonna, take you where you need to go. Because it's funny, because I would have parents ask me like, how long does my son or daughter need to practice? And like, I remember the first time a parent asked me that, I was like, wait, what does that even mean? Like, they should want to play. Like, what do you
Right.
mean they need to? Like, it never occurred to me, and my parents never told me to practice. Like, it was just I was always there. They would have to like pry the guitar out of my hand. Like, it wasn't like, something that like was on a strict schedule or whatever. So it was always kind of funny to me when a parent would ask like, how long should I make him or her practice? But that's great that what kind of music is your son into?
So he likes Queen, and so he's
Nice.
he's like a big Queen fan, but he's playing some new songs like Alan Walker and stuff right now these days. He's trying to do those songs, and he's continually doing the lessons because he's doing it through Zoom as well, with the guitar, this thing. But he's really interested. He's doing practicing it every day, morning and evening. He's doing the practices by himself.
That's great. That's great to hear, man.
Right. So Andrew, I can sort of see now that there's a sort of a dim light about the live shows are going to start soon. Are you excited about it? What do you feel about it? About the live music coming back?
Well, I mean, at least for a framework, because that's where I have most of my live experience. It's a huge part of what we do. Like when people see us, like we give them a show, we give them something that they like. We give them their money's worth. It's not just we don't just stand on stage. So the idea of live shows coming back is definitely exciting. Um, but at the same time, like with this new lineup and like the amount of creativity we've struck, like I'm cool with like giving it some time still and just you know uh just kind of gritting down and continuing to write because the stuff we're coming out with is really good. um but yeah, we've been talking about doing like some live stream concerts. um Maybe I don't know if it's too late in the pandemic to even do that, um but yeah, it would definitely be great for the live shows to come back. We actually had one booked that would have been awesome. It was supposed to be at the end of last year, October 5th. We were supposed to open for Nile, and
Wow.
obviously that didn't happen. So I'm not sure what's going down with that because I think I remember hearing something they had trouble with their tour manager or whatever. So that show's probably not going to happen. But yeah, it's definitely exciting to think about playing again. Last year I played 4 gigs total,
Right.
in 2020, which is, nothing.
Yeah, because Andrew, because I go to a lot of concerts. So 2019 I went to 60 concerts. 2019,
Wow.
2020 I only went to 8 concerts.
Jeez. Yeah, that's a big hit right there.
Yeah, because everything got cancelled and I couldn't travel anymore anywhere. So Andrew, what's your message to the viewers of the podcast and also people who supports your music?
My message to the viewers. Well, man, that's a tough one. I would say, just enjoy what you do and like support any musicians that you have any interest in, because we're all passionate about what we do, and we want to continue to do it. Um, and as far as your viewers, support Channa 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 because you're spreading the word about hopefully good musicians and good artists. Um, so yeah, yeah.
Sure. Right. Anybody you want to shout out to?
Uh, well, obviously Zeno Rodrigo, the famous Rodrigo family.
Right.
Uh, right. His father's a super famous singer, right, in Sri Lanka,
Right. Yes.
Desmond.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. He's known as the Bruce Lee of Sri Lanka.
the Bruce Lee of Sri Lanka. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because he has a song about Bruce Lee.
Oh, right, right. I remember looking him up once and I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, thanks to Zeno for hooking us up. My bandmates, all my friends and family, anyone that you know helps me continue to do all the stuff I do.
Right. So Andrew, thanks for joining the podcast. I really enjoy talking to you, and I'm looking forward to more music from you. And maybe in the future, I could see you live someday. Let's see. Keep making great music and stay safe.
Awesome, man. You too. We'll be in touch.
Okay, so thank you, Andrew. Thanks again.
Thank you.